Hi! Welcome to the Game Dungeon! Today we're looking at Echo. Yeah, so this is a third-person sci-fi, well, I'll let you decide what kind of game this is. As you can see, we're being given the eye here. The game's taking a while to load. This sort of reminds me of the intro to Aeon Flux, how she catches a fly with her eyelashes. That became a symbol for the show, though I don't really get it. I mean, what was the message? That she's enticing but deadly like a Venus flytrap? I mean, that's not really the theme of the show. It had way more going on than that. I don't know. And back to the eye! Okay, this is weird. We're off to a weird start here. See, I thought this might be the menu, but if I move the mouse, nothing. Just the eye. Oh, I have to hit the button too. Alright. Yeah, now it works. I want to say I'm almost certain this isn't the first game I've played where a giant eyeball follows your actions in the menu, but I'm drawing a blank again. Alright, let's go! Okay, another game where we start with a quote. The flesh and soul shall enter the palace through separate doors. Only the strong will reunite. Yeah, I don't know. This is feeling like the realms of the haunting quote to me. But we won't judge a game by its cover quote.
All our songs were about it. A magical place of life without end. A palace of untold wonders. But only for the worthy. So our lives were desperately dedicated to qualify. Pinpoint perspective on the great reward. Only I never wanted to go. Those words alone could mean death. So when I ran, I knew it meant never stopping to catch my breath. If I wanted to live. And so it was. Yet here I am.
Here you are.
The place I spent my whole life escaping.
We're gonna have some drama in this game, aren't we?
I feel like shit.
Okay, usually I try to sum up what's going on in our intro, but I think that's going to be impossible in this game. See, we're being dropped into the story and almost everything is a reference to something else that's not explained. And I don't know how much of this is important. So, I'll try. We're playing this lady here, no name yet, and apparently we've been in stasis for a century. We were injured from some past incident that went south, but we're healed up now. There's also some disembodied voice that sounds super irate with us. Literally everything he says is snippy and chiding towards her.
I don't know how you hope to achieve that, little miss, but I suggest you start your efforts by laying back down. Yes, I had a very good look at that while you were asleep. I think you're in for a disappointment.
Now, my first thought was that this was the ship's AI, but it sounds like a person, and this voice is way too resentful to be a practical AI, so I don't know what's going on. There was some guy named Foster who I think was the captain that both the lady and the voice respected, and he's dead. And he gave the voices lighter. That's important, I think. See? There it is. The music is sufficiently spacey. And we have an observation lounge like that guy in Mass Effect 2.
I need a suit.
And that's our intro. Now we're all up to speed. And we head out to fly to some planet-like structure that was space camouflaged.
I'm guessing it's some corporate state's illegitimate mining project from the pre-requisition rush.
Okay, that sounds like a reference to something. Well, everything looks pretty neat. Not a bad way to start your day, with an endless array of cubes. Well, let's pull some switches and head below. Oh, and I'm going to turn off the space hula hoop. I realize we're in the future, but I guess I'm old-fashioned in that way. There we go. Yeah, this is cool. We have H.R. Giger-inspired tech architecture. I'm getting kind of an alien vibe here. But someone is determined to ruin it. First, the voice is agony. He's doing this thing that kids do where because you don't like someone, you deny or aggressively question everything the other person says. So if she were to say there's a lot of snow here, he would say, don't be ridiculous. You can't know that's snow. How presumptuous of you.
It looks like nothing of the sort. I really wouldn't get my hopes up. There's never anything there but bitter disappointment. You really are naive. Best not to deal with your kind. You are overconfident. Immature people often are. I should be taking notes every time I open my mouth.
So yeah, the voice is an insufferable prick. I hope he shuts up. So that's the first problem. The second is, every time they start talking, my walking speed gets cut to a crawl. Now you might think, so what, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Anyway, we get some more story, I think. The voice is 1,000 years old. He's known Foster for 150. The lady's grandfather thought this location was the palace. Yeah, you remember the palace, right? And he paid a lot of money to get its location. It's not clear to me why everyone is here, though our protagonist is talking like it's her destiny, so fine, we'll go with that. The voice just seems to hate everything and everyone, so maybe he just tags along with what other people are doing and insults and second guesses them at every interval? I've known people like that.
You're wrong about everything.
Yeah, probably.
Foster.
An entrance! Aw, lever's stuck. Why don't we shoot it?
Wow.
I'm taking the gun offline.
No fun allowed! I like the ominous. Oh! Crash to the desktop! Not what I want to see! You know how some important software will have frequent updates with new features? But then every year or couple years they'll have a focus on stability and do long-term releases? Well, as I understand it, the Unreal Engine doesn't do that. It's full speed ahead all the time. So yeah, I'm having to replay this entire segment again. I'm hoping just once. Good, I made it. The secret was to do the exact same thing I already did with no changes at all, with no understanding why it worked this time and not earlier. Computers. And inside is the palace. It's dark, but this is looking pretty fantastic. I like going down these dark corridors and having the paths branch out combined with this lavish design. It's hard to explain, but this is some of my favorite kind of surrealism. I've had dreams before that halfway resemble moments of what I'm seeing here. So yeah, even though the disembodied voice keeps whining, I'm really enjoying the rest of this so far. We also get a little more plot reveal, that our heroine is a former member of a cult or something called Resourcefuls. And her grandfather spent centuries genetically engineering or selectively breeding them with the sole purpose of being able to explore the palace. And here we are in the palace. This kind of strikes me as weak writing, but it's too vague to really judge. I mean, besides physical fitness, I'm not sure what genetic traits are necessary to explore an abandoned space palace. I bet I could explore a space palace, and I wasn't chosen for this. I might need some climbing gear for parts of it, but yeah, I don't think this is good writing. I love the faces on the door. And the vases. This is exactly what I want to see in a Forbidden Palace. More plot. We get an explanation for the cube on her back. Apparently Foster was dying, so she put him into a special machine that converted his soul into a cube, and taking the cube to the palace is going to resurrect him somehow. Okay, I'm down with that. That means we have an actual reason for being here. Not that we needed one, but it's kind of expected the more you're cramming your game full of dialogue. The Infinite Palace is a reward in itself as far as I'm concerned. I mean, look at this hallway. I'm pretty sure it loops back, so I can literally walk down it for an infinite length of time. Again, this halfway resembles images out of my dreams, or just my imagination in general. So we're getting a tiny distorted glimpse into my mind, people. So if you're wondering what's going on in my head, yeah, this is part of it. It's very rare for a game to do this, so for me to see this in full 3D is pretty amazing. More plot reveal. Our heroine reveals that even though she grew up in the cult and had the training, she never bought into it. So she ran away when she was 15. So I guess we're at maximum irony that as a non-believer, she's here in the place the cult trained their whole lives to be in. And I'm wrong. Foster didn't give the lighter to the voice, he gave it to her. The game sure seems to think this is important.
He gave you the lighter, so he must have wanted me to take you here.
And we get the name of the voice! London. I still don't know what London is. He sounds way too human to be an AI, and he's 1,000 years old. So how is he alive? Have we solved aging? The heroine said her grandfather was hundreds of years old. Is he a cyborg? Does she have a cyborg grandfather? Maybe London is in stasis, but his mind still works, like in the movie Dark Star. Their captain is mostly dead, but they have him frozen so they can talk to him with telepathic equipment.
Commander, sir, we have a big problem.
So many malfunctions. Why don't you have anything nice to tell me when you activate me?
Well, the Infinite Palace leads us to some sort of shrine room, and she recognizes the techno-altar. It's the same thing that converted Foster into a cube. Yeah, it has kind of an ominous feel to it, huh? Well, she decides to stick Foster the cube inside the beam of energy. Sure, makes as much sense as anything else. Oh no, it's overloading! Ah! But this is a victory because London shouts and we learn her name. N. Now, I was hoping to add her to the roster of characters with letters for names, but it turns out it's EN, so nope, that disqualifies her. Well, that broke the energy pillar, and now the palace is short-circuiting. Oh, and look! Now our HUD has a mystery indicator 600 kilometers below us. Well, we better get a move on then, huh? And this strobe effect is actually pretty annoying, so skipping ahead here, the lights turn off, then bam! Total darkness. But now the palace is fully lit, and we see it in all its splendor. Excellent. What's not excellent is London tells us the palace is unstable, so the energy is fluctuating, and bam, another blackout. This is kind of annoying, but now we have air. Another blackout. Now we have flowers. What will we have next? Uh-oh. It's a black sludge thing that's moving. This is obviously pure evil, so we're having some horror with our beauty. More blackouts. Now it's bigger and thrashing around. Yeah, this is not what I'd want to see in my infinite palace. Feels like a horror to me. It's getting worse. Oh look, it's me! And I want to kill me! Yep, and that's the game! Running through the infinite palace while copies of yourself come to kill you. But we're not done here. Oh no. Thankfully, London unlocks our gun so we can defend ourselves. Though our ammo recharges slowly one shot at a time unless you find these power-ups. So you want to conserve your shots. Oh, and look at that! Another annoying blackout. And now they've gotten back up again.
The palace resurrected them.
Who knows what this death trap is capable of? My guess is things will only get worse.
London is right. He's a prick and he's been wrong so far, but he's right about this. It's going to get worse. Now, initially, it's not so bad. Your doppelgangers are always coming for you, but they're shambling slowly and you can shoot them if there's too many. You can also choke them out if they don't see you. You can burn ammo for radar detection, and so on. It's your typical zombie evasion gameplay while you do things like collect markers to unlock an elevator. But of course, the irritating blackouts keep on coming. So that means you never really keep them down. So we have infinite respawning enemies in this game. Not a fan. But where things get real is on the next level, which looks amazing, by the way. Now, see, what the game doesn't tell you at first, and is happy to let you learn the hard way, or not, is after each blackout, the doppelgangers start mimicking your actions. Mostly. I'll get to that. So initially, they don't know they can go into the water. But they watch you do it, so next time, they're not scared of the water anymore. And of course, you probably saw this coming. If you shoot them, guess what they're going to be doing after the blackout? Yeah, this is not fun. Especially since there's not loads of cover in these wide open palace rooms. It's like the old taunt. You can run, but you can't hide. Except let's talk about running. Okay. If you look up any random review of this game, they're going to tell you that the doppelgangers will mimic your actions, so you have to be careful what you do. That is so not the full story, because they'll also do things I didn't teach them. First, they're coming for me at all times. I didn't seek them out to kill them, but okay, we'll assume that. Second, they're always going to jog towards you. See, me thinking I was clever, I spent one cycle doing nothing but walking slowly. See, the game even has a toggle between jog and walk. I figure if I'm fighting zombies, then I want George Romero-style zombies. Well, too bad. After the blackout, they completely ignored my slow walking and kept jogging at me anyway. They can't figure out how to walk in ankle-deep water, but they can jog, huh? So I was playing by the game's stated rules and they killed me. Okay. Well, that means we're gonna be jogging a lot. Not running, though. No running. They will learn that. That is not what I want to see. Yeah, no. This is ugly. Now, I think what the game wants you to do is be more stealthy, and in all fairness, I'm not the best at stealth games, but I'm seeing some roadblocks even then. First, this is not an ideal environment for stealth. A lot of stealth games have you in the shadows, lots of things to hide behind, duck into closets, that sort of thing. No, you're relatively exposed out here, and there's a lot of people looking for you. Now, they have that system where if they think they spotted you, they don't chase you immediately, but they do jog over to your location and start searching around corners, from a distance too. But even if you're a master of stealth, guess what? Every minute or two, the game's going to go dark and reset everything. So that means that those guards you thought you took care of are in different places now and you could be exposed at any time. For me, this all leads to a constant feeling of stress. I'm not great at stealth games, there aren't easy places to hide, there are dozens of doppelgangers patrolling the area at any given time. If you learn the pattern of one doppelganger, it's just going to get reset, assuming it doesn't put you in the line of fire of 3 other patterns. Just from the law of averages, somebody's going to see me no matter what I do. I can shove the enemies away, but that just buys me a few seconds, and I have limited stamina, so I can't do that too frequently. I can shoot them, but that's signing my death sentence for later, kind of like taking out a payday loan. And I have low ammo, just in case I got too good at that anyway. I can't run because that's another death sentence. I can smash them with these balls or choke them out, but that's not reliable. Those are all lucky breaks when they happen, and may not be an option if I have more than one on me. Now when things go dark, they stop imprinting my actions, so then I can run and go weapons hot, but that doesn't last long at all. And my troubles usually don't conveniently coincide with that time span. Plus then, everything's dark and hard to see. And guess what? The doppelgangers can see in the dark. It feels like the game has a counter for every strategy you have at every turn. You're not going to be outsmarting this game, or at least I'm not. All I can really do is just reduce the probability of my demise. So sure, I can wait 3 seconds for a doppelganger to turn around if another one's not chasing me already. That sort of thing. Other than that, the only approach I'm seeing is just run and pray. No, excuse me, jog and pray. Sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't, and it just creates this ball of stress in me the entire time. You don't get a break. It's the same gameplay from here on out. Now this reminds me of another game, or part of a game, Resident Evil. See, the old Resident Evil games had moments like this. You would have to get past zombies, but it would be too risky to fight them all. Plus, you needed to conserve your ammo because there would be something even worse later. So it would create these stressful situations where you would have to run by them, or maybe just fight one zombie, then keep on moving. You weren't sure exactly what the best thing to do was. Parts of it were run and pray. But parts of it were. That wasn't the whole game. There would be easy zombies, puzzles to solve, monsters you knew you needed to fight, ones you knew you should probably just run, and then moments of calm in the eye of the storm in the save room. Oh man, who didn't like the save room music? What? Oh. So Resident Evil had pacing. Echo had great pacing to start off and still has narrative chunks in between levels, but its actual gameplay is relentless. You don't get a break, you get gray hairs from the stress. Just look at N. Well, maybe she's just blonde. Now some may point out how I'm not using the detection sphere, but I really don't think that's my main problem. See, I'm assuming someone's chasing me at all times, because they are about half the time, And there are so many doppelgangers that it's always going to be lining up over something, and that doesn't tell me which way they're looking or what their direction is. It's like having a mosquito detector in a swamp. And again, if I stop to learn where everyone is, then that doesn't mean much because it's all going to be reset. The reset, Jesus Christ. Okay, I've stated before, I hate infinite respawning enemies. In my opinion, that's good for one thing, and that's letting the player know they need to run away. Except here, you're punished for running, so they're good for nothing. But even without that, this constant cut to black is driving me insane. I just find this incredibly annoying. You know how some movie trailers fade or cut to black way too much, and it just makes you want to throw your drink at the screen? Well, apparently the designer thought, let's create an entire game on that concept. It never ends and they're uneven. Sometimes they're long, sometimes they're short. I just get irritated of this constant flashing to black. Especially when the palace is so damn bright. I mean, look at this. This is spectacular. Why keep flashing this to black so your eyes never get adjusted? And it plants in your mind that you can never just stop and enjoy what you're looking at. They're going to keep pulling the light out from under you over and over again. This makes me kind of hate the game, even though I'm loving the palace. And speaking of hate, how could I forget? There is one more way the doppelgangers differ from you. They're copies of you, so they have your same physique, right? Not quite. You see, when they spot you and start chasing you, they run ever so slightly faster than you do, and they reacquire you from turning perfectly. So that means at some point they catch up to you and grab you and you're done. Even on complete straightaways. So in case the game wasn't stressful enough, not only can you not outrun them, but you can't keep pace with them. They'll gain on you eventually. This game counters you at every turn. Well, this taught me one of my weaknesses, which is being mobbed to death by myself. I guess there's a moral here in that you can't defeat yourself. You just have to run and hide from yourself forever and hope you don't kill you. That's the message here, right? Oh, sorry, the video had a blackout. Well, I'm saying, Uncle, I have one hope for mercy. I've been playing on normal. Nope, going to easy. I feel no shame. Not from this game. It doesn't feel impossible on normal, but it sure doesn't feel fun either. On easy, I'm not sure what they changed. It does seem slightly easier, though not substantially. I'm guessing there are fewer copies of myself? You know, I've thought about before how much more I could get done if I had copies of myself. We could split up the work and accomplish more of our goals in life. But even then, I don't think I would need more than 3 or 4 copies maximum. Any more than that, and it would just get too hard to coordinate things. This is way too many doppelgangers. Back to the story, London mostly leaves us alone while everyone is trying to kill us. But in between levels, sometimes we have walking segments again where we get more. It turns out the cult N was in sucks even more than we first realized. In addition to gene manipulation, her grandfather was really proactive about which genes he wanted and made members compete against each other to the death in kind of a Hunger Games fashion. And if that's not bad enough, the winner of all this was taken away from the rest of the cultists, and they imagined it was on to glory, but no. The reality was her grandfather turned them into cubes to presumably resurrect them at the palace. He kept them in the dark, too. It turns out none of them realized this palace was real. They just aspired to the palace. And it's not clear if they thought that this was a metaphor, or just thought it was a secret room at their facility. This cult sucks. That's all you really need to know. Your only 2 options in it are either death by combat or get turned into a cube. I wouldn't join. Oh, and N now has a theory on what the palace is. She thinks it's a retirement home built by the super rich where they live in luxury and achieve immortality. And the doppelgangers are just to watch them fight for their amusement. She thinks her grandfather wasn't a part of this, but he wanted in on the action, which is why he was training his army of cubes to come raid the place. Well, we literally have nothing else to go on, so sure, why not? So that's our story so far, but let's talk about this presentation. I hate this. Okay, it's presented by Anne and London talking to each other. Fine. And I have to navigate these walkways while they talk. Fine. but then they cut my speed to a fraction of what it was. Okay, am I the only person who thinks this method of exposition is complete garbage for games? Now, it's an age-old argument in games as how to handle cutscenes. Since some gamers hate them and just want to jump straight to the gameplay, others want to absorb the story and don't mind them. Well, I'm normally in that second camp myself, but just because I want to watch the cutscenes and get the story, I don't see that as a reason why other players need to suffer. I literally can't think of a reason why you shouldn't be allowed to skip through any cutscene you want, as long as it's not easy to do by accident. Well, Echo is the worst of both worlds. Not only can you not skip through this, but you also have to hold down forward the entire time and do it at a slow speed. I would be more forgiving of this sort of thing if it was from the 80s or 90s, where developers were still figuring out what works. But this came out in 2017. No, we're long past the point of figuring out how to make a game that isn't irritating. Now, you can make the argument that they want you to listen to the story, but want you to be free to look around. Okay, well then why not make the scene automatic, but still let me look around while they talk? I seem to recall a game popularizing that method of exposition, and it did okay. And I realize this is super nitpicky, but for whatever reason, I found this to be the most irritating part of the game. Wait, no, the blackouts. The blackouts are more irritating. But this is the second most irritating. I don't even know why, but seeing my speed cut in half and having to hold down forward for minutes at a time or the game stops just isn't fun. This got me thinking how capping your player's speed when you know they can go faster kind of feels bad in every game, I think. The only time it feels good is if I'm moving some gigantic vehicle or heavy weapon to a location where I know I'm going to rain down ever-loving hell on my enemies. In those cases, it's almost like you can feel the power you're dragging to your target. You're still moving slowly, but oh yeah, it's gonna be so sweet once you get there. You're bringing the thunder. It builds the anticipation. But back to Echo. We are now in the green portion of the palace. I know I keep saying this, but this is gorgeous. The lighting and downward slope really makes it feel like we're getting deeper. I think this actually might be a really good study for any level designers, since best I can tell, the game is mostly recycling the same assets, but the lighting and layout keeps making this feel fresh. I guess I should talk about the music. The calm sections, what few there are, have this really nice feel to them. Too bad about 80% of everything you're gonna hear is that same dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun track. This starts getting really old because it plays when doppelgangers are getting close. And guess when doppelgangers are getting close? All the fucking time! The game also has this motif it repeats a couple times that keeps making my brain do a double take because it kind of sounds like the beginning of Faint by Linkin Park. I'm not going to play that for comparison because on YouTube that would be me playing copyright Russian roulette, but you can look it up. No, see, I shouldn't have even done that. You know, the first time I heard that song was in this Flash game called Goth Adventures, where it was playing in the background while you ran around your house trying to find ways to kill yourself as fast as possible. I was hoping to show it to you as proof I'm not making this up, but I can't find it now. That one may have been lost to history. It's okay, you didn't miss much. Oh, and I just want to comment on how this cube looks pretty awesome. It has this layered effect to it. I want to say this might be my favorite Soul Cube so far. Now, I know, everybody's going to point out the Soul Cube from Doom 3, but all that did was hover and spin some blades around, and it took 5 souls just to do that. Plus, we're stretching the definition of cube a bit with that one. Echoes is a lot more mysterious and definitely a cube. Now, of course, there's the puzzle box from Hellraiser, but I don't know if souls are involved with the cube itself or not. I've only seen the first movie, so I'll yield to Hellraiser fans as to whether that one qualifies as a soul cube. I think Echo is the safe winner for best soul cube, but I don't consider the matter closed. Now, the green level ended up getting so hard I thought I wasn't going to be able to make it, but then I decided since I had nothing left to lose, May as well go weapons hot and spend my future today. And yeah, that mostly worked. I couldn't pull that off earlier, but I could here. I mean, I could have just gotten lucky, which is what half this game is for me. Echo's giving me such mixed feelings since I'm loving every single level, kind of hating the gameplay, and the jury's still out on the story. I feel like I personally would enjoy this game a lot more if it was a puzzle or exploration game and not just being chased all the time with limited options. Maybe this is what deer feel like. On the next level, everything is dark, which still looks pretty cool until you realize this is the bright portion, and those damn blackouts keep coming. So now we have light dark, dark, and black. Seriously, this flash to black is driving me a little crazy. You're being spared from most of it, because I have mercy for you. It's probably happened 100 times by now. Now again, I'm not a stealth game expert, but I do feel qualified to say that easy mode is not easy. I mean, look at how many doppelgangers are spilling out here. I quit the game multiple times thinking I wasn't gonna make it, only to come back to it. But it doesn't feel like I'm any better, just the dice rolled a different way. And here we touch some black goo, which of course gives us a blackout. Then next thing you know, we're suspended in the air while the cube is ripped from us. You might think I cut out a transition here, but I really didn't. We wake up with London, the angriest I've heard him so far, berating us non-stop.
Neo-innocence rubbish.
Then the game starts dropping plot bombs on us. And this is the first real break we've received. It turns out the doppelgangers weren't interested in N. They wanted the cube. I don't know, they sure seemed more interested in killing me than anything else. If I was trying to steal a cube from myself, I would just grab it when I wasn't looking and run. But whatever, they don't murder me now. I finally feel free to actually explore the palace. This is so much nicer than the rest of the game. Unfortunately, that means I can't open doors, so we're gonna have to get the damn cube back. I don't really want it back. We also learned that I had it right the first time. London is an AI. Apparently he's an old one because humanity originally capped AI's intelligence to avoid a Skynet situation. But later ones were uncapped and then became super religious. Yeah, that's kind of weird. So would their god even acknowledge them as having souls? Or is this an Omnissiah situation? But London is an AI! Jesus Christ! Well, he passes the Turing test with me, but was such a raging prick I wanted nothing to do with him. Wow, and here I complain about Windows. I didn't know how good I had it. I'd be begging for Windows compared to London. I wouldn't be able to get anything done with him. I'd have better luck with Marvin from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed.
Oh, God.
And on to the gold level. This continues to feel fresh, although making the ceiling the same as the floor doesn't quite do it for me. As usual, most of the palace is just magnificent. In fact, I feel like I'm doing the game a disservice by showing it to you this way, because this is a game screaming for better anti-aliasing. You may have noticed a lot of shimmering from all the shiny architecture. Unfortunately, many anti-aliasing methods don't do anything to address that. So all I have left is downsampling, which takes more GPU muscle than I have. I've been adding a little bit, but not enough. This is about the best I can do, which I consider a bare minimum of acceptable anti-aliasing. But that sends my frame rate through the floor. Really, I think the industry has been punching above its class for a long time as far as image quality. Okay, I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who cares about this, but you're trapped in this video, so you get to hear it. The thing is, anti-aliasing quality hasn't improved in about 20 years. In fact, we've gone backwards in quality in many ways. Look at this. Here's the game at native 1080 ultra quality anti-aliasing. This is considered ultra quality. It's pathetic. This is like the last episode. I have to go beyond maximum quality to fix this. And even this isn't as clean as what I could get on a 20-year-old game. Now this is very unofficial, but here's my experience of the highest quality anti-aliasing that's been available for games over time. As you can see, not only has there been a drop, but for most games, they wouldn't be able to run smoothly with clean anti-aliasing on even the fastest hardware the year they came out. We've been sacrificing image fidelity in pursuit of more detailed graphics for decades, and it bugs me because I can't unsee this shimmering. I'd rather have blockier graphics but a clean image. But back to the game, we're getting close to the end, but now we have these automatons that kill us and our clones. They also sprint and take 2 shots to kill. Yeah, that's great. I mean, it is cathartic seeing them kill my doppelgangers, but we have kind of a Warhammer situation where the enemy of your enemy isn't your friend. They're just an even worse enemy. And of course, they respawn just like everything else. I'm getting the sense we might be approaching the path to madness here, watching automatons kill us forever. I mean, if you look at how they... Oh, sorry, the video had another blackout. Those are kind of annoying, huh? Well, we get the final pieces of our story, which is Foster was hired to bring back N to her grandfather so she could be turned into a cube. Which he did, but he apparently changed his mind at the last minute and helped her escape, and that's how they got injured. So N turned him into a cube as a Hail Mary to save him. Then N reveals that this was all part of the plan, and she was manipulating Foster into feeling sorry for her. And she's just a stone-cold survivor. Which I'm kind of not buying, since if that was the case, why go through all of this to try and resurrect Foster? But London tries to assure her that Foster was a stone-cold mercenary and didn't care about her. However, he also mentions that Foster might have been doing that thing people who live centuries do where they become detached from humanity and start losing themselves, so maybe that's why he did it, to feel something again. Although London admits Foster giving her the lighter works against his theory. That suggests he cared because the lighter meant nothing to him.
Foster was diving headfirst into the void, and I could do nothing about it. The only thing suggesting it could ever be any other way was that lighter. When I asked him about it, he said the lighter meant nothing to him. That was why he had it.
See? So, I'm getting lost here, but what's clear to me is these people can't decide what they want to do with their lives and keep changing their minds. So their motivations and actions aren't very consistent. This makes things confusing when they spend all their time reflecting on their motivations and actions. People like this aren't bad, but they're just gonna waste your time since all they do is introspect, even though they're making all this up as they go. If Anne grew up in a normal school, she would be in a drama club for sure. And here is our ending. We head into the white light, get one more blackout because this game can't help itself. Then the cube is gone and we use the lighter. Yeah, obviously this was really important, right? Then I think it becomes apparent N has to sacrifice herself in order to bring Foster back. She introspects some more and then goes for it. I wouldn't. I would have written my hand off and then gotten out of there. Then Foster wakes up and birds are chirping, even though he's still deep in the chamber. So I guess this is interpretive, but I think Foster is going to die because he's still hundreds of miles below ground. Now, yes, Anne took elevators, but she also went over a lot of ledges with no way back up. Now, the game did have grapes you can eat, but that's only on the upper levels. On the lower levels, the berries are inedible. Plus, wouldn't the cube just restore Foster the way he was? In other words, mortally wounded? He's not getting medical attention down here. Nobody wins. These are terrible decisions by everyone involved. Well, I guess I wasn't a fan of the story, but I think I still preferred it to none at all. See, this is one of those stories that obfuscates things and has moving music and imagery and good vocal performances. And because you don't understand everything that's happening, you're supposed to think it's deep. But, I'm not getting that impression. See, there's the core story, which more or less gets explained by the end of the game. There's the surrounding story that further explains this world, which doesn't get explained at all, but that's actually not that important, because the fantastic world can just be a means to an end. So that begs the question, what was the point of this story? And I'm not coming up with much. Besides watching people be emotional and introspective. So yeah, this didn't do it for me. Now there's always the possibility I'm too dumb to get it, but I tried. As for the rest of the game, I think this is a game that was better on paper than in practice. The respawning sounds like a novel idea, but wow, I found the blackouts annoying. Although I will say, even though it gave me grief, the gameplay felt more like questionable design decisions, rather than a situation where the developer just hates the players and wants them to suffer. I can't even explain why, but I just wasn't getting that vibe. In fact, if I were to try and fix the game, I would say just get rid of the resets. So yeah, I'm saying remove the core mechanic from the game to make it more fun. The enemies could still mimic me, but just stop them from coming back to life over and over. Then I could have a coherent strategy instead of jog and pray all the time. If I could have just strangled everyone, this would have gone a lot smoother. Though again, stealth isn't my favorite. If you love stealth games, but you're just too good because no one ever sees you coming, then you should probably play this game. See, it even unlocks challenge modes. Good God. Oh, we could have had big head mode? Yeah, there's your reason to replay right there. As for me, I love the Infinite Palace and want to see more of this sort of thing. Let's go nuts with our architecture in games. They're games. Go big. Don't hold back. This game didn't, and I think that's what carried it. Despite frequent parts I hated and wanting to quit multiple times, I think the game had heart and did not make me more cynical. So, good job, Echo. That's about it. And since I thought this ending was lame, I have a better one for you. You see, this is not my first time fighting doppelgangers. I remember Prince of Persia had one that caused me some real trouble, and when you finally confront him, he knows your every move. You just can't get an edge on him. So rather than fight to the death and be endlessly pursued by him like in this game, you know what you do? You put away your weapon. So he does the same. To thine own self be true. Turns out not trying to kill yourself is the answer to not killing yourself. Who knew? That's deep, right? I think that's at least as deep as this game. I guess that wouldn't have helped with the automatons, though. Well, she had a blaster. All right, we're done. Damn it, hold on.
It's not about the lighter anymore.
The lighter.